Welcome to Newkirk Redevelopment Precinct. And spawning in the bottom right-hand position, the blue Protoss from STX Seoul. His name is Trap.
His opponent playing for SK Telecom T1, making a debut in Pro League. His name is Dark, spawning as a red Zerg on the left bottom position.
You gotta say that Dark's gonna be under a lot of pressure here. It's his debut match. Him winning or losing now is going to determine if SK Telecom T1 will go to the ace match or not. So I hope that Dark can really control his nerves here.
Now, both players did make it through the Challenger League qualifiers this previous week. And at Marson asked, how come Mine Time isn't played as much anymore? Well, I can tell you it returns tomorrow.
As Mine Time will make a reoccurrence tomorrow, guys. Do not worry about that. We'll be back. Mine Time will never leave you, similar to Zuzu Bubble.
I can tell you there might be a new remix.
Oh, wow. So,
might be.
On the horizon, what? New Mind? Again? New Mind 3.0?
This might actually feature Whiplash. I'm not
I
too
don't
sure
know about that.
I'm not too sure.
Anyway, we have our Protoss players scouting the Zerg base, just making sure no shenanigans like a 6-pool are happening here. Of course, a very safe opening, pretty much the standard nowadays for Protoss against Zerg. And we also see the very standard 15 to 14 pool go down as well. So everything going to be very normal on this map. And also, if you guys haven't noticed, this is a little bit different from the latter version of the map. A lot of that dead airspace in the middle of the map has been replaced. There's a lot of extra terrain down there below that watchtower, and there's also an additional ramp at that potential 4th base for both players. So there's now 2 ramps instead of 1 that go from that location. And we have a Nexus going down for our Protoss player, and also looks like Trap's doing a very good job at denying this hatchery. It finally does go down, but still, overall, nice job at really delaying that.
And does his opponent know if it was the Nexus first? Just not yet, because the Overlord actually scouted inside the main base instead of the natural. So the probe still trying to do as much as possible, but it's really low in HP, and he's going to have to pull out pretty soon.
And getting that probe out of there, of course, does not want to die to the Zerglings. He needs that probe to scout for a potential 3rd base. You know, not useful to waste so early on here. And but besides that, though, everything looking, you know, pretty slickly standard at this point, I'd have to say.
No Zerglings coming out by Dark. Okay, 2 Zerglings out has been already made, so he just wants to check if there was any, you know, the cannon rush or proxy pylons around the map, trying to see if there's a probe hiding somewhere to see if he's going to go for the 3rd base. Other than that, it's going to pretty much transition into a standard mid-game. So the question is going to be, is Trap going to go for the Robotech? Is he going to go for the Stargate? If he does go for the Stargate, is this going to be a Phoenix opener or a Void Ray opener? That's going to be the biggest questions here. And before that, is Dark going to take the 3rd expansion? For now, the answer is yes.
Indeed, the 3rd expansion going down. Going back a little bit to the Stargate openers, it seems like if Protoss players open up with Void right now, it's because they want to take a faster 3rd and defend that 3rd base versus any potential Mass Link or Roach threat. And that also kind of helps out their army composition, which they, of course, want to be mainly Void Ray based if they're going to go Sky Toss.
Now, in the game before, Deer did go for massive, Mass Tempest into the Void Rays, and I just check Twitter, and someone said if you're actually facing off against a Mass Tempest build, you could go, really heavy Queen, tons of Hydras, and then go for early push, trying to annoy as much as possible while going for Vipers, and then you could actually cut off the Tempest 1 by 1 earlier in the game, rather than just waiting later in the game to get the Vipers out.
Yeah, I guess it's identifying the build at the right time. If you see any early Tempest, then mass up those Queens, get a lot of Hydras, quickly get that Hive Tech out so you can use those Vipers. So that may be a solution we see from Zerg players in the future. And our first Stargate is on the way from our STX player. Yep. So he is going to go for some air units.
That probe could have gotten taken out. Seems like Dark actually wanted to let him live and make sure he could tell the story to his friend probes back at home.
It's like, I'll let you live, but you need to tell all the probes at your natural, what is really going on the other side of the map. Let them know that the Zerg army is coming for you. All right, Phoenix on the way from trap here, so it looks like he's going to be at least, you know, sticking to a standard army composition for now. Just going to use the Phoenix to kill off some overlords, get some map control, maybe kill off a few drones as well, and the Stargate will get scattered pretty early here, so that's a mini win there for Dark. But so far, nothing really major beyond that.
Oh yeah, near the end of Wings of Liberty, it didn't really matter if you scouted the Stargate or not because they put down the Robo as soon as the Overlord was out of vision and made sure that the Zerg player could not scout it. There we go, once again, Trap is going to put down the Robo, and let's see what build he is going to do. He's sitting on 46 probes, so it's a little two more than the regular Immortal all-in push, so it seems like he might be opting for a third base pretty soon. Yes, 47 probes.
Yeah, so if the probe protection does not halt, then probably not going to see any type of weird all-ins. I remember towards the end of Wings of Liberty, we were seeing some very weird offbeat fast 3-base all-in timings from Protoss players. They were getting the third, not necessarily you know, putting any like gas there or just a few probes.
It was the answer against the Infested Brewlord timings that the Zerg player really opted to go for in near the end of Wings of Liberty, and the Protoss player knew how to exploit it really well. The Blink Stalkers, you know, they came right before the Infestors came out, right before the Brewlords came out. Now, Dark, he's going to go for the Roach one while the Phoenixes are still alive and well, up to 4 Phoenixes now. Yep,
you're just doing a pretty good job harassing a few of these drones here on the gas, not getting too much, but just enough. And I like that there's 16 lings out on the map by Dark because this is going to really force his opponent Trap to commit to defending that third base when it comes out. We do have, interestingly enough, an Immortal on the way here, only 50 probes, so there could be a potential Immortal all-in follow-up from him here.
Well, this is a Roach run, so, you know, first one is going to be defensive, but the problem is he making a second one? Is he making a third one? That's going to be the biggest key point.
Getting that +1 as well. Okay, Robotics Bay going down. So
it's going to be a Colossus transition because the popular build on ladder these days for the Zerg players is to go for the Roaches, get some Roaches out, and then go for the Hydras.
Exactly. So we'll have to see if we see that Hydra Den going down. We have an Evolution Chamber going down right now. That'll be complete soon. And the Hydra Den already completed, just like you said. So we are going to be seeing that Hydra transition. And I have to say, Hydras in Heart of the Swarm so much better than their Wings of Liberty counterparts. They just, that extra mobility really does make a big difference.
Still weak against Colossus and Storms, but, you know, at least they're usable now instead of just an all-in tactic.
Exactly. Those two Immortals are, strangely enough, being hidden, though. So,
is he faking the third and then possibly going for one base all-in? That could be possible if he's...
two base all-in.
Two base all-in if he's hiding the Immortals, but I really highly doubt that. I mean, we are already 10 minutes 45 seconds into the game, so going for all-in from 2 bases, it's not going to be that great. But let's see what Trap actually prepared for today. You know, Rick hitting the 11-minute mark, and he's not moving out to secure the third base. He has enough army to do so. So I'm really curious what he wants to do.
Yeah, I think that this could actually be a 2-base all-in.
Yeah.
I think it still could be a 2-base all-in. He's hid the Immortals. The second Colossus is just about to finish, and there's so many gateways out right now.
7 gateways.
Well then, I think everybody knows what's going to happen here. We're going to see the Protoss move across the map here, try to hide as much of this attack until the last second. Roach speed is barely started right now. +1 ranged attack is about halfway done here, so... this could be very, very dicey for the Zerg player here.
He just needs to start massing out so many army. Now he scouts it with the Zergling. He knows that the Colossus is out, trying to go for the Colossus, but the Zerglings are not enough, especially with the Zelt reinforcement on the bottom. And now this time is slowly ticking for his opponent because his opponent is slowly moving out on the map. I really like the Darkest forcing the fight in this area because the force fields, you need to put down at least 7 or 8 force fields to cut out the Zerg army completely. So really nice play by Dark to force the fight here, but is this going to be enough?
That's going to be the real question. It looks like our Protoss player, he is moving in here. We're going to need to see excellent force fields from him. Good force fields go down so far, trapping a lot of those units behind the force field wall, but the Hydras with the Ranger are still able to do a lot of damage, but the Zerg army, it is simply melting to the firepower of these Colossi here, and right now, the supply is still in the Zerg's favor, but it looks like his main army has been defeated here. The Colossus still remain, the Immortals still remain, and Warp in right at the footstep of Dark's army. It looks like Dark has been pushed back, and now his opponent is going to move into the main base. of the Zerg player. Will he be able to do the critical damage he needs to the economy right here?
Well, remember, he still doesn't have the force fields left because all the sentries went down. So if he just defends once, then he could still win the game. But remember, the two Colossus are still alive, and going for the Immortal is really smart play, but is that going to be enough? I think it's a little bit too late.
Unfortunately, it's too late. Look at how happy Trap is there, man. He is smiling. He knows he has won this game. Even the Overlords are trying to join the fight here, and the Roaches are still just trying to regroup and do what damage they can, but the problem is the reinforcements, the Stalkers keep piling up now, and that's a scary amount of Stalkers. 109 supply to 74 supply. That's going to be it. GG!
So STX widens the gap between them and EGTO today by taking a victory against SK Telecom T1, a second-place team in Pro League currently.
I have to say, I was glad to see a 2-base non-immortal sentry all in for once. You know, mixing it up, adding in the Colossus. And I have to say that I've seen builds like that in the past, but they're pretty rare, and if you pull them off correctly, they just completely catch your opponent off guard.
Trap going for the select style sub-sun after the game ends, and of course it was an unfortunate loss for Dark, but he just didn't see it coming, and when he saw it, he was trying to spam the units. He tried to force the fight in the right position, but didn't have enough units out in time.
Yeah, unfortunately, just the unit count was not in the favor of the Zerg player. And that's going to be it, guys, for today. SK Telecom, they lose, unfortunately, 2-4 against STX Seoul. And I have to say, overall, STX Seoul, they played very solid today. With Classic really just, picking up a lot of the slack now, I feel, that he wasn't able to do as a Terran player. STX Seoul is a much stronger team than they were in the previous rounds. Here's, of course, your victors, STX Seoul. And, yeah, overall, pretty decent batch of games, I'd have to say. Unfortunately, Parting, he did lose this game. I was actually expecting him to win against Innovation, but Innovation just was too good, man.
That was a cool game until it got to a point where Parting was out of position. The Vikings were sniping the Colossus left and right. The Colossus didn't do anything. The Storms were baited out perfectly. So it's a perfect game for the Terran players to go over, and also a great game for Pros players to watch and just try to study the map where you're supposed to position your units. Also, I recommend Rain versus Last.
Absolutely. If you want to learn how to deal with the Terran army late game, as a Protoss player, what your unit composition should look like for some of the engagements, when you have that 3-3 upgrades, definitely Rain, he is such a good player to watch and learn from.
Here's a tip, do not be scared by the number of Vikings. If you get tons of Colossus and Grey Storms and the Vikings with the snipes, then Vikings are nothing. Colossus is going to rip through the Terran army.